Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Wednesday in the Riv, and we've got a lot to talk about. Of course, on the national scene, we know the circus is going on, but apparently, I think the ceasefire the last time I checked was still holding this time. Uh, and let's, well, we're going to talk about the council meeting last night, and that council actually, except for our two friends, Paul and Brad, the two phone heads, who would vote for anything the mayor proposes, including the installation of the electric chair on the sixth floor for his political enemies. Um, the council did the right thing. They got circumvented, uh, and it's their fiduciary obligation to check. They don't do a thorough enough check for my liking, but the reality is that this time they said, look, you're not going to just stick money in the budget, not even tell us you're going to do it. And there was a different figure, but they did change a figure for the health care. They said they were going to, they listened to Gallagher, and then supposedly they changed the
Right.
figure. This is a problem. This is a major problem because everybody involved in this circus is guilty of violating the law, numerous laws, and in addition to being being malfeasant because a public official that doesn't act in the best interest of the people is being malfeasant. I'm going to remind these people and you to get out the vote. Why? Because you have to. Because we let me break this down really simply to show you why they did this. Okay. Um, this is, and I don't make things up as I go along. Most, and if I do, I'm telling you, I'm making them up again. I'm going to show you guys this. Okay, this is from Santa Clara University, the Markula Center for Applied Ethics. That word ethics is unfortunately not interpreted literally by some of these public officials. Let's start at the beginning. They were elected to office by the people. They raised their right hand and they swore an oath to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which, as CJ and I tell you ad nauseum, that part of the first Article 5 clearly states that they are our substitutes, and agents, and answerable to us at all time. The reason I'm reminding you of that is that's their constitutional duty to be answerable to us. And when they are not doing their fiduciary obligation and looking at these numbers critically, they are not executing their constitutional duty. So I'm going to read you a little excerpt again from this other thing. Government ethics refer to a unique set of duties that public officials owe to the public they serve. And there are at least four factors that identify a relationship as a fiduciary one. Now, we prefaced this on the last show by showing you case law that says public fiduciaries have a greater burden than regular people because they're dealing with the taxpayers' money. Okay. There are at least four factors to identify a relationship as a fiduciary one. The beneficiary has delegated authority to the fiduciary to act on its behalf. We have given them the supreme delegation of authority by electing them to office and swearing them to their constitutional duty. So we have delegated our authority, but we have not abdicated our authority. Therein lies the problem. This is why if I ever hit the mega bucks, I'm going to sue everybody, because we do not abdicate our authority to politicians, even though most politicians in Massachusetts thinks once you elect them, they become a special class, and they are now above the law. Second, the beneficiary has delegated authority to the fiduciary to act on its behalf. We are the people they owe that duty to. The fiduciary has discretionary powers over the beneficiary's assets or interests. That's true. As city councilors, they have a discretion on how to handle our money. That discretion does not extend to them misspending our money. So let me make that perfectly clear. The fiduciary is in a position superior to that of the beneficiary due to specialized access, knowledge, or ability. They are in a superior position once elected because now we don't have a say anymore. They go to the council, and if they act on their own, they are breaching their fiduciary duty because they are taking advantage of the fact that they are now elected officials, forgetting that they have sworn to handle our money correctly. And then the beneficiary trusts that the fiduciary will act in the beneficiary's best interest. That is something that they don't do, and they have to be accountable. They have a duty of care, a duty of loyalty, duty of impartiality, duty of and accountability, and duty that preserves the public's trust in government. Now, the duty of accountability, let's get into this. Without the duty of accountability, the public's ability to monitor the behavior of public fiduciaries would be severely limited. From the duty of accountability flow the duty of transparency. Remember that Paul Coogan first term, I'm going to be transparent and follow the law? And the concepts of disclosure, open meetings, and accessibility of public records. CJ, do you have really great accessibility to public records? CJ's out. He took a break. We have to wait to pose that question to him again. Where is he? He's disappeared. Okay. I can tell you every time we make a records request, it's like pulling teeth, and if we ever get it, we don't really get it. Let's see. And accessibility of public records. Now, this is a court precedent, just to say that this isn't an opinion. CJ, I just read a section that said they have a duty to make their records accessible. I said,
yes, I know. I was here.
How many 10,000 things did you have that it was like pulling teeth to get records? So,
yep. Or I get the no such document exists. I love that one. Yeah. No such document exists.
Yeah. Let me close with this quick one just to show you that this is an opinion now. It's court precedent. In 2007, the California Supreme Court articulated the notion of public fiduciary accountability in International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers, Local 21 AFL-CIO versus Superior Court 42, California, 4th 319, 328, 2007. The court opined that, quote, implicit in the democratic process is the notion that government should be accountable for its actions. In order to verify accountability, individuals, that's the taxpayer, must have access to government files. Such access permits checks against arbitrary exercise of official power and secrecy in the political process. If that doesn't describe the way we handle money in Fall River, I don't know what does. Yeah, you're right, Lewis. But whoops, I'm wrong one here. Wait a minute. Where was it? No. We got Nelson over here somewhere. The same reason that adding trash fee including quarterly tax bill keeps getting mentioned, and others residents will not be happy about it. Well, I understand, and it does put the city in a precarious position. People who want to do the job for the city. Let me preface that there are people in the city that actually their jobs are being impeded because they are not going to get the money because they were told that this was going to be appropriated, and it hasn't been appropriated because the individual in charge, our supposed chief financial officer, took it upon herself to basically circumvent the process and basically stick it in the budget. I don't know why. Maybe she hoped they'd miss it. I can't understand it, but and de facto approve it without looking at the budget, which is again a violation of that cast a critical eye on the numbers that they are supposed to have as fiduciaries. But that was it. It was an outrage. I mean, we talk about this. We've been talking about it for years. How they mishandle money, how they misspend money, and there has to be a reckoning. There has to be. We can't have 14,000 people voting and 40,000 sitting on their ass and going, well, I'm pissed off. There's nothing we can do. Yes, there is. Vote. So, CJ.
I'm here.
Okay, tell us about your view of the debacle.
Well, we have a comment from Phil about Scott Brown, who's running for senator again, only this time in New Hampshire. Newsmax's been reporting that. I saw that earlier today. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate the reminder. The problem I have is that it always takes the same person to bring it up. It always takes Michelle Dion to bring it up. And she even said, this is a back against the wall vote. That's exactly what she said. This is a back against the wall vote. Cliff Ponte was calling out the interim chief financial officer on everything. And Linda kept defending her. Well, she's not in the inner workings of the mayor's administration. She's not in what the mayor's decision making. She better be. She controls the money. It's not like she's important or anything. Okay? Know. And then to top it all off, Linda ran the meeting because Joe Camara decided he was going to pull a Linda and go on vacation during a city council meeting. I got a problem with that. I firmly believe that if you're a city councilor and you're going to go on vacation, you're a part-time employee. Guess what? No pay. You lose your pay for that meeting. You'll lose your pay for that meeting. I'm done with that crap. If they're sick, I can see it. But because you want to go spend a week in Portugal with your family, or a week in Florida, or 2 weeks in Florida with your family, that's not the taxpayer's responsibility. You were hired to do a job. Do the effing job.
Yeah.
If you can't do the job, quit and give it to somebody else.
Do you realize how absurd that statement is, that the interim is just a title. If she's the CFO, she's the CFO.
Right.
If you're enacting anything, you are still in that position and required to execute that position. Well, you're right, Nelson. That's the absurdity of that statement. So, Linda has proposed that the chief financial officer should not be involved at all with any information that would lead her to do her job properly by the mayor of the city of Fall River. Well, I mean, that's not only a crime. It's not only illegal. It's a crime against humanity to say something like that. I mean, let's face it. Come on, Linda. I know, you're going to try to cover, but let's be realistic here. That's her job. And from my observations of her, She might have been a big fish in a tiny little pond somewhere, but she is now a very tiny fish in a very big pond, and she looks like she's in way over her head.
No question about it.
She has, I've watched, you and I, CJ, go back decades watching people present in front of the council. We've seen the best and we've seen the worst. And I'm going to tell you what, she's up there contending already for some of the worst we've ever seen. And, this is inexcusable. I mean, look, I understand we have a mayor that knows nothing about public sector law. He walked around for 30 years with his hands in his pocket in the school department. Never did a budget, never negotiated a contract, never did anything that's pursuant. Couldn't get principal. They wouldn't trust him to run a school, but he gets elected. Shame on the voters. But those elections were at 14,000 people, 13,000 people, and now it might be more because he's given out 12,000 jobs. So we better have a big turnout to overcome all the jobs he's given out. But this is the problem. And the council are accessories, except for Michelle, most of the time before, during, and after the fact.
Even when they ask the right questions and vote the wrong way.
Right.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah. Well, especially one particular guy. But this is the problem. The problem is that they will say that, you can't do this, but then they let them do it. I mean, what happened when she said we're $2 million short? I think it's 1.8 million actually, accurately, and that's still not an accurate number because we have incurred but not reported claims yet, as you well know, CJ, being in the field, that run off for between 1 year and 2 years that are also going to be attributed to this particular year. They're normally rolled in unless you change policies. But the fact is that, listen, and then they freely admitted they're short of that money because they spent it. We got 17 million. I'm going to get those numbers. I got to dig them out of my files. Oh, my files are up to kazoo. My attic is loaded with them. But remember, we did a show. They had $17 million in the last 4 years or so that we were in. And these are Gallagher's numbers, not mine. City share was like 13 point something or other. Where did all that money go? The taxpayers in the city of Fall River, who two of whom are you and I, paid for that health care that year. That money was left over. Did we get it back? Did the city keep it to use later on if we ran over budget some year like the employees do? No, they pissed it in the hole. And the thing is that now you're going to get taxed to pay that bill again. I'm filing a complaint. We are going to file a complaint with the Attorney General of the I probably won't go anywhere because these politicians don't care. Telling a state government that misspends money, that the city's misspending money, is like, okay, what are they doing wrong? We do that all the time. But if you had the money to take them to court, and you need a lot of money because they keep you out forever, you would win. But this is why I said, you guys all better pray, be light novenas, that I never hit the Powerball or I never hit megabucks.
Here's the thing that always gets me, okay? The CFO said, if the money isn't transferred, the state is going to order the city to raise the funds somehow. Any way you look at it, it's still got to get approved by the city council. Okay? So, what's Paul going to do? Steal the money? He stole it all the other times. You're not going to tell me they haven't stolen money from other departments. Oh, good. You and I are the same way. I don't trust the interim CFO either.
Well, based on her performance, and listen, I give everybody a little bit of a break, but the thing is that's the reason that Paul's brother Mike only lasted 13 days as chief of the fire department. He couldn't pass a captain's exam but he sold his soul and had a mayor appoint him and change and make him, and you can't do that job. It's like going in the military. You start as a private, work your way up through the non-commissioned officer's rank, or you start as a first lieutenant and work your way up through the ranks. You don't walk in and go, okay, I've been a first lieutenant for 3 weeks. Now I want to be the general of the armies, and I want to run the D-Day invasion. No, you're not capable of doing it. You got to pay your dues. Got to learn your job. And it's become abundantly clear to most people who watch this on a regular basis and have experience that Houston, we have a problem.
Again. I got a comment here. Phil turned around and said, why does Brad Kilby try to dignify himself before his perpetual yes vote for anything the mayor wants? Legal or illegal? By hook or by crook? Interesting.
Well, you know why? Because Brad's going to work at the housing authority and boost his pension up $60,000.
That's right.
So that's why. We all know that. Brad sold his soul to the devil. And he admitted that in front of witnesses. And one of those witnesses is watching this show right now. And he saw me get him to admit that right outside the council chamber. And you think you can keep his neutrality? Can he be for the taxpayers when he's going to promise a life-altering change in his pension? Some people could, but not him. He's been bought and paid for a while. But I mean, in fairness, before he even considered that option, yeah, that is a bribe. Yeah, I thought you said a bribe. Yeah, it's terrible. It is. But some people have a price, some people don't, Colin. You're one of those guys that doesn't. You'll take the arrows in the head just as I have and CJ has. You know, we've been vilified. We got thrown out of Bristol Community College for exercising our First Amendment rights and not being political lackeys, obsequious political lackeys at that. And but we don't care. You know, we're calling them like we see them. We're calling the balls and strikes. This city is, and look, I know a lot of people. I consulted with a lot of unions throughout the state, throughout the country. I've seen cities that have problems and stuff. I have never seen anything like it. I can bring an attorney in that represented people all over the nation in numerous public sector unions, a former corporation counsel, a former labor negotiator, a former union labor negotiator. And every time something happens down here and I call him, he laughs and he says to me, only in Fall River. Only in Fall River. Look, even Abby is she's saying, you're right. And it's the largest dog bed in the world, by the way, too. So, but yeah, it's crazy. And we have to get our ship, we have to right the ship. We have to begin handling our money because I'm going to tell you something, guys. I'm going to tell you something. You do not want to see this city go into receivership because when the state sends down a receiver,
all bets are off.
Yeah, the great cobblestone. But you don't want to see a receiver. Fall River did go into receivership, in its early days. And what was the last one it did? I'm trying to think. Anytime we get around Boston, I mix those little towns up that are clustered around Boston. I'm thinking there was a city that went into receivership not that long ago. I mean, not like yesterday, but maybe 15, 20 years ago. Oh, God, what the hell? And I knew the president of that local, too. Jesus. I mixed those towns all up. I'm thinking Name a couple of small towns outside of Boston. I can't think, but it's irrelevant because all he does is that. Yeah, yeah. Citizens Alliance for Accountability in Government. Everybody, we're going to be looking for people to gather before this election to work on a massive turnout for this election. Remember, uh, there will be a different outcome if people turn out. Look at Trump carried this city. We had 49,000 people. What
Hey,
was the
Phil wants to know. He wants a job at the housing authority. Do I have to clean Paul's golden toilet? It's better than cleaning his balls.
Yeah, thank you, Jim Cahill. I think it was Chelsea. I think it was Chelsea. Yeah, you're right. Appreciate that. I'm really good at numbers, but names, it's like I got to know somebody for like, if I don't, unless I grew up with them, if I got to meet them a few times before I remember their name. I never forget a face. I don't forget numbers very often, but when it comes to stuff, like, yeah, I believe it was Chelsea. And I think um, their president was PJ. And I remember them going into receivership and they just chopped everybody's contracts like in half. And there were a lot of unhappy people in Chelsea, including the taxpayers and everybody else, because they go in there and they take a chainsaw to everything. And they don't care about anything except meeting the bottom line. And we really don't want this. And remember, when we ran the recall, CJ and I, we got a bigger turnout than the three elections Paul ran in, and that election was on December 16th. I will always remember that date, and from various reasons, but and there was nothing else on the ballot except the recall. There were no city council elections, school committee elections to bring friends of these candidates in, and that's a disgrace. But it shows one thing: we got an incumbent mayor out that was elected for his third term
A
by
popular
75.
mayor. A popular mayor.
Yeah, he was elected by 75% of the vote. But when you finally told the people about how the money was being misspent, they showed up. Yeah, yeah. Well, let's just hope that. Hopefully, we don't have to do that, Colin. Hopefully, you get some help on that school committee. Hopefully, Michelle Dion gets some help on that city council. And we have people that look. We're not asking you to just be blindly in favor of, every single thing. We're asking you to be responsible to the people of Fall River, the people who are hurt the most by this just circus that we have. This orgy of spending that we've had for the past, nearly over a decade.
Yep. Chip. Chelsea, Massachusetts was placed under state receivership on September 11th, 1991.
Yeah.
The action was taken by the Massachusetts state legislature after the city faced a financial crisis, including a significant budget deficit and the inability to meet payroll obligations. The receiver was James Carlin, and he oversaw all city operations and finances. That's what we have to look forward to.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't know what they're going to do because, if they told me they were going to bring Alan Sylvia back up here, I think he's still in Fort Lauderdale. He was the city administrator in Lauderdale for a very, very long time. Well, like I said, he's one of the best numbers guys I've ever seen. If you want a clear picture of what's happening, because he doesn't care, he's going to give it to you straight, and whether you like it or not. And this is what we need. We need a frank assessment. We need a forensic audit. because a lot of illegal things have been done with the money. We need a full forensic audit, or we need an audit by Alan Sylvia to be made public. But again, we get back to this fiduciary thing from the Ethics Center saying that they have to be transparent. And we have a mayor that's the least transparent mayor in the history of this city. And I'm a pretty good judge of that because I've been through a hell of a lot of mayors. Maybe they had one back in the 1800s that wasn't as transparent. And I know that the Grand Wizard of North Korea was more transparent than Paul Coogan. So
there you go. Hey,
pretty bad.
Phil's asking a question. Does Fiola still have all those yard signs in his garage, or did he burn them all upon his backyard fire pit? I don't know. Whose yard signs this time?
Yeah, but look, we're getting back to the bottom line here. You can't blame anybody but the voters of this city, and that's why CAG. We got people cranked up when. The irony of this, CJ, is that we got people fired up and we recalled a very popular mayor because of fiduciary irresponsibility that pales by comparison to what Coogan's done in 3 terms. And I don't know why people aren't as jacked up as they were then. Do we have to stir the pot again? This is why I think we need to have a meeting, get people talking in the coffee shops. We got to get people to the polls. We got to say, listen, you only can elect people who are going to say, we're serving the people of Fall River. We're going to try to control spending. And I'm saying you can't spend. It's a necessary evil. But the reality is that you have to be fiduciarily responsible. And if you don't show these people that you're going to vote them out, and listen, Kilby and Hart have been making the rounds between the school committee and the city council for years. Kilby voted for $1 million for an athletic field that's now, I think, under the new Durfee. When the city was broke, we hammered him then, and that was a decade ago, 10 or 15 years ago. He never had any consideration for the taxpayers of Fall River.
Yeah, Patrick, I have that redacted report. I want the unredacted report. All the important names are blacked out. All the important issues are blacked out on the Malone report. We've all had that report for a while. That's nothing new. That's nothing new. Thank you very much, but that's nothing new. Phil,
the Malone report, yeah, that thing, I'm going to give you a hint. Don't use it for what you'd like to use it for, because Shaman's a lot better,
softer.
a lot softer for your butt, because that Malone report is so redacted, and I don't even know how and frankly, I think they lied through their teeth on the report.
I agree. I agree.
I think they lied through their teeth.
Hey, Phil says, I don't think Teeth understands these city council meetings. We need aggressive conservatives in those seats that understand how they work and what's going on around them.
Yeah, you're right, Phil. But the unfortunate reality of human nature is most people are not proactive, and the city has to reach critical mass before they wake up. Now, when the city goes into receivership like Chelsea did, and we come down here and they literally obliterate everything in this city. You'll be walking around with a third of the police department, a third of the fire department. They'll be getting half the pays, and I mean the city will be a mess. And then they're going to say, what we're going to do is we have to destroy the city to allow it to rebuild. There's an old quote. What we have now, what we have had governing this city for the last 15 years or so, are people who believe in. I think the quote is attributed to Sun Tzu, but I don't think. Some people say it wasn't him, but nobody knows who really said it. But we have leaders who are willing to burn down their nation in order to rule over the ashes. And
Yeah.
this is what you see. They were willing to destroy the city for their own power and personal gain and make their friends rich, just like just like they did with Biden. Just throw money, put the city, put the country into chaos financially, spend all kinds of money, and now we got Doge. We see all the money they were giving to all their friends. Sheldon Whitehouse gave his wife a $2.8 million consulting job for a company that she founded to clean up the beaches of Rhode Island, and then he gave that company $8 million. Before he got out of office, he gave what did he give? What's her name down in Georgia? Didn't he give her like $2 billion or something like that? Stacey Abrams. She had like $75 in donations in the organization she created, but because she was a radical leftist, before Biden went out, they gave her a grant of like $2 billion. I mean, this is why we have to change politicians, like Mark Twain said, like diapers, and for the same reason. They have to be changed often, and for the same reason, because they're full of shit.
Yeah. Patrick, good luck on that appeal to the supervisor of public records, because when the Herald News did that, they had to go to court. And odds are you're going to have to go to court, because even though they say you're entitled to the records, Paul won't allow them to be given. And that's the problem. Colin, I don't know if you got yours today, but I got mine. Response from Tracy Curley. And it says, and I'm sure that she also sent it to Derek Farias and Kevin Almeida. It says, hello, Mr. Dias and Mr. Ferry. Thank you for reaching out. Among other things, our ESSA application outlines district strategies to support student social emotional well-being across schools. Part of the overall plan was to equip schools with necessary materials and supplies as they relate to these strategies. These detectives will assist staff in identifying and addressing barriers to student learning and will help to create a school environment free from distraction and disruptions. Additionally, the use of detectives is supportive of students who may otherwise avoid school restrooms and experience physical and emotional discomfort when they do so. Overall, we aim to foster a sense of safety and security that allows students to better focus on their academic pursuits, and our efforts are aligned with federal guidelines. Federal guidance. I hope this was helpful to you and your understanding. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Regards, Tracy. I still don't think the money can be used from Title I. I still do not believe that. Okay? When students were smoking in the bathroom, they didn't put smoke detectors in there. When students are destroying the bathrooms, like is going on at Durfee, I don't see them doing anything to protect them. So how are you going to waste more money?
Well, listen, we know how it is. I just got something over the wire here. Um, and this is one of the other problems we have, that very few people. We always tell you, we call it like we see it. We call them. We have proof of what we say. But the mainstream media, who jumped all over that leaked report, probably from a left wing, saying that they did very little damage and blah blah blah. So this is the latest thing. Okay. Iran, Israel, and U.S. agreed that these nuclear sites were badly damaged, despite the leaked report, and that came directly from the Iran's foreign ministry. spokesman Ishmael Baghi told Al Jazeera, which is their newspaper. So they admitted they were it's extremely badly damaged. But this is the problem. We have the same thing in Fall River. We suck at radio, who never gives you the opposite side of any argument. It's like Paul's personal platform to BS everybody.
Hey, them and BCC are the only two opportunities he has.
And BCC and the sterile news. This is the problem. You can't trust anything that they say. I mean, he gets on the air and he says dumb things like we're going to give $50,000 to bring in business. $50,000.
I was just going to bring that up.
$50,000. I mean,
plus a $10,000 match from the redevelopment authority.
Listen, $50,000 wouldn't put a coat of paint on one of those buildings. Okay, you pay what does you pay now to paint a 3-decker? 20 grand, 25 grand. That's why they put siding on them now, so they don't have to paint them anymore. It's like, give me a break. You think everybody's stupid, Paul? You're gonna send your minion down there. You're gonna send Mikey Dion down there. We're gonna try to bring business into this city. $50,000 and maybe another $20,000, $70,000. It costs you that much to paint the sidewalks. You're gonna bring business into what? A city that nobody's got any money. That's why we can't keep businesses. Number one. Number two, it's BS. I'm gonna make a prediction. If they implement this program, they're going to spend $50,000 or $70,000, and then you know what they're going to say after he gets reelected? Oh, the shit didn't work. We're going to turn it all into market rate housing.
That's exactly what the plan is. See, their plan is to revitalize all the vacant buildings and all the vacant storefronts. And if that doesn't work to get businesses down into the South Main Street area, market rate housing. So we can screw the people of Fall River again. Carol Fiola, her husband, and Paul Coogan are screwing the people of Fall River. When you have towns like Jamestown, Rhode Island,
that's right,
whose income is 3 times that of Fall River, and they're building affordable housing.
18,000 people.
Yeah. And they're building affordable housing. Yeah. Somerset, building affordable housing. I have a problem. New Bedford, affordable housing. Fall River, 2 units, 2 units, 3 units.
But they won't. Yeah, you're right. But they won't. And you think that, Fiola couldn't unload that building for a while. And he didn't want to spend the money to fix it up because you can't do anything with that place down there. Who is going to bring businesses into a place that's got a courthouse that they bring in every murder and stuff from anywhere in the general area? I mean, it's absurd. And it's like we're not psychics. We just actually have the ability to think critically and logically. And this is why they say, you guys, how many times have we been called like? We warned them about the charter. We were right. They called us everything under the sun. We were right. The charter was a bag of crap.
That's
right. The first day there was a lawsuit. We warned them about the schools. We went to every single meeting in the opposite position saying, we will not have this thing paid. I don't care if Paul tells you, don't worry about it. By the time we get there, it'll be all set. You'll never pay a dime for it. Now we're paying for Durfee. And we don't even know accurately how much we are paying. And we're paying for Diamond. And now, to remind everybody again, in the city especially, this is the letter I wrote to Joan on the transition team, and I will basically say what I said. I said, you can't kick the can down the road. You can't spend all your money. And I said, we never fund our share fully because we always run under budget. Quote, Kathy Ann Viveras, video of said council meeting is available. And then I went, what's the results of this short-sighted fiscally unsound policy? On the long term, major changes that can spike medical care or drug costs that are highly probable will find the city financially unable to pay its share of healthcare costs. Okay, and I'm not Nostradamus. That was anybody who knows what was going on, and we're paying twice. Remember, the last 4 years when we had that excess money, apparently there's not a penny available. We paid. I paid my tax dollars for them to fund that. Statutorily, that health care was supposed to be fully funded. They took the money at the end of the year, rather than keep it for health care like we do, they blew it all like they always do, and now we have to pay that additional $2 million. We already paid for it. We should have enough. They should have enough money in the bank to absorb this and not burden the taxpayers. That's why you have to go out to vote. You have to. This is crazy. And Patrick says he's going to appeal the redacted report to the Supervisor of Public Records. And, well, good luck, Patrick. Godspeed on that one, because, I don't know. But what's the moral to this nauseating story? You got to get out to vote. You got to get out the vote. All the complaining in the coffee shops, after they, how many people did we heard that were calling us names after the charter got approved and they found out what a mess it was, were crying about the charter? It's like, oh, now you remember. Now everybody's upset about paying for Durfee. We went to every single neighborhood meeting, you and I, CJ. We told them. We want to raise money for CAG. Maybe we should have like tarot card readings and pretend we know what the hell. We can see the future, because they think that like we can see the future, but it's not. It's just common sense, which is the least common of all senses for most people. But I mean, what's the cure? Yeah, Karnak the Magnificent. Oh, Jesus. We're going down.
The answer is idiotic people. Why does Florida have
Karnak? We're going to have to call you now Karnak the Magnificent. But, we laugh to keep from crying. This city is a shell of its former self. And this is a monument to the incompetence of federal government and state government and local government. You can't give these people, unfettered control over your money, because, like Milton Friedman said, you give them the Sahara Desert, they'll run out of sand in 5 years. We can't stop spending. I mean, I was talking to a former union leader this afternoon, and he was calling me, and he was very upset, saying, remember all the years we had to take zeros because the city was in trouble, and if we went to arbitration, we couldn't prove the ability to pay. Remember all those years? I said, yeah, I do, because unfortunately I had to go back there and duck, rocks and bottles being thrown at me at the union meeting, because I had to tell them why I couldn't get them a pay raise, because we couldn't win an arbitration, because the city was in trouble, nowhere near the trouble it's in now. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul does nothing but lie, George.
Yeah, well, you know how you can tell if he's lying? His lips are moving. We all know that. But you look at this stuff and you go, wow, how did we get here? Well, we got here because
people don't vote.
We don't vote, and these people don't care. They don't care about you. You think that it's like Martha's Vineyard. They only cared about illegals till they got there. Once they got there, their head burst into flames. They started running around yelling, get the National Guard in here. They're bitching at Trump for getting the National Guard when they're trying to loot and burn L.A. down. But in Martha's Vineyard, they had 50 illegals show up in a bus, and a National Guard was there like in a half an hour.
Yeah.
And stick them don't put them in a hotel. They put them in hotels in New York City. But let's put them in an auditorium. Shove them in an auditorium, get the buses down here, and get them the hell out of here. Not in my backyard. See,
That's it.
these are the people you let run your government. When's the last time in my lifetime, and it's a long one, and in my political activity, I can never remember a city council that did not have a majority of its members from the North End, the more affluent area of the city, or very close to the North End.
And they still do.
And they still do. That's right. They do not care. You know what happened when all of a sudden when a school in the North End, they were going to transfer them out? Remember that chaos?
Yep.
Whoa, you can't do it there. If they're going to do it to the people on the South End, screw those people.
That's right.
Regular
That was
people.
just like when we were demanding two high schools. One in the South End,
Yeah.
one in the North End. No, don't do that. Got to cost us too much money. Don't do that. How about when, during the charter years, when they were talking about ward counselors? Oh, no, you can't do that. I'll be out of a job. You can't do that.
Yeah, we should have ward counselors. Do you think the CFO stays? George, I'm not hearing a lot of feedback. I'm hearing a lot of negative feedback from the people that watch her. But unfortunately, until we put the right people in, people like that remain here.
Remember, Linda kisses her ass anyhow. Linda loves her. Linda thinks she's wonderful. But my sources say Linda did not like her. Linda liked Bridget. Now all of a sudden, Linda is defending the new CFO.
Maybe she wants her to destroy the city, and then she can point a finger at her.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the kid. Maybe I don't know. But the problem, George, is that if the people don't elect a whole bunch of people like Michelle Dion, the politicians are going to keep the people in that they want. And apparently, now what is Coogan going to do? Is he going to get rid of her? Well, based on her performance, I don't think she's earned the position, but that's my personal opinion. However, getting a budget through that council is not difficult. They've been passing budgets for the last 15 years that have been total.
Yeah, they sent it back for reductions, and they approved it with increases.
That's right. So I think that the issue is if Paul thinks that she's loyal and she's going to do what they're told, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she's competent or not. I mean, it's not the first incompetent. Remember the time, but we nipped that one on the bud. Remember the time they hired an ice house guard? And we found his resume, and after we did it, they didn't hire him, but they were going to hire him.
Yeah, they were.
He came to the city. He was going to get a job. Listen, I don't care. And we keep saying this to people. You got to run the city and government like you run a business in your house. I don't care if my neighbor is the greatest guy in the world, invites me to all his cookouts, lets me borrow anything I want, which I don't because I don't borrow anything. But just he's a great guy. We talk over the fence all the time. I don't give a shit. If the guy was an auto mechanic and he can't fix my car, I'm not taking my car to him.
That's it.
If the guy's a shitty plumber, but he's a nice guy, okay, he's a nice guy. You talk about the big baseball, football, shoot the shit, that's fine. You don't hire a guy to do your plumbing because then it'll be literally and figuratively a lot of shit. Because you don't hire people in real life that can't do the job. Only in government do we get, let's hire a CFO. She needs an assistant, an analyst, 16 people in the office, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Sounds like elections. Hey, Phil says Karnak answer. Sis boom ba. Question. Describe the sound when a sheep explodes. And Bruno, would it be the first time Linda's tried to run for mayor? She does very well when she runs 1 out of 9. But head to head, she can't pull her ass out of her. She can't pull her head out of her ass.
Look at this one. Did you see this one?
Jazel would win.
I'm going to tell you something. The way this city is going now, if he got out of jail and pulled a Buddy Cianci and did a mea culpa and said, look, I really ran this city well, but I was an idiot. I was a young kid that's stupid, and, you know, I wanted to live like a rock star because it was the first time I ever had money in my pocket, but I've learned my lesson. Buddy Cianci got back in and he created a renaissance in Fall River. I mean,
in Providence.
And, you know, Jazel could play that card if he was convinced people that he learned his lesson, because, you know something, the part about him and running the city better is true.
Yes.
Remember, Sean Kadeem said that at a council meeting in front of the camera.
Yep.
Jazel Correa was a much better man than Paul Coogan.
Right. Right. But again, he says one thing and votes another way. So he's another two-face.
Well, but, you know, that was a correct statement.
His statements are always correct. His questions are always correct.
No, he's a sharp
it's his
guy.
votes that suck.
Yeah. You wonder you wonder if he's like bipolar or something, because he says all the right things and he votes the wrong way in a lot of instances. But let's see. That's a good one. I like this one.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too, Bruno. People were correcting her. She forgot how to run a meeting or something. And this is what happens when the same people keep getting put in the same position over and over and over again. They become stupid. They become stupid, and that's what's happened. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. We'll see you on Friday, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. And Chris Peckham, I read your post. You used my comment. Have a great day. We'll see you Friday.